wants to potentially subject them, taken advantage of because they were trusting or they were honest and thought that they were dealing with somebody who was honest. So I got something that you can use. You have something that I can use, but I won't mine until you give me access to yours, and you won't give me access to yours until I give you access to mine, so you can be assured that mine is legitimate and I legitimately have it and it's legitimately what it's supposed to be, because people put so much into presenting things to be a way that they are not, just so they can get access to people and take advantage of them. That has become the primary model of behavior and etiquette. And as I said a few minutes ago, what's going on, mainline capo? 809 Slim said, keep your blind mice ass away from me. Jay West said he had to check. He didn't get a notification that we were live. It's like I thought. So yeah, to answer your question, Jay West, they are still hating. They're still hating. They really are. 809 Slim said, yeah, go drink and smoke your life away like everybody else. Exactly. Exactly. Like, if you on that bullshit, taking advantage of people, only creating an image for the purpose of being able to draw people in so that you can take advantage of them. If you on that, which a lot of people are, if you on that and you think that's cool, fine. But go that way. Go that way. Stay away from me. Stay away from me. Stay away from mine. Like, I believe in, scrambling your eggs. I believe in that. I believe in scrambling the eggs of individuals who take advantage of trusts, who violate trusts, who violate confidences. I guess I'm old school like that. I believe you should definitely have your shell cracked and your eggs scrambled. For sure, for sure. You know what I mean? Have your bacon fried too, while we at it. Yeah. For real, for real. I believe in the toast. I do. I believe in the toast. I do. Still. Because I was just talking to my man Big D, and I really feel like scam culture, which is a component of sucker culture, has gotten so far out of control because not enough people get their eggs scrambled. I think a lot of times cats will do something to a cat that they shouldn't do that to somebody who will really scramble their eggs, and but the cat who would scramble their eggs also has a mind that says, you need your eggs scrambled. But you know what? What you did is not worth the trouble of cracking your shell. Like, even if I cracked your shell and, dropped you in the pan nicely and scrambled the fuck out of you, I'd still have to, potentially, deal with a stomach ache at some point in time. Probably. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe so. Are you worth it? Is what you did worth it? I feel the kind of way about it, yeah. But am I going to let my feelings overwhelm my capacity for rational thought? So I think what's happening more so now than ever before, there are more cats that are doing that than not. Now, some cats are crashing all the way out. Oh, you did the dumb shit to me. Oh, I'm crashing all the way out. When I see you, I'm scrambling everybody's eggs. And on site. And if it costs me everything, I'll worry about that after the fact. But there's not a lot of that going on, thankfully. And because there's not a lot of it going on, it certainly ain't as much of it going on as it once was prior to social media. Um, when people had more anonymity, when people could, chef up a quick motherfucking meal and be gone, and there were no cameras to say, oh, that he was the cook, that was the cook, he cooked it. You know what I mean? There was none of that. Niggas was definitely getting served with a much greater degree of frequency. Now you have to consider way more because, yeah, you could manage to get away from it in the moment, but there's also a very good chance that something will lead back to you. Maybe a year, maybe 6 months, maybe 2 years, maybe 5, but something. And it's a good chance of it. And who wants to bear that burden behind somebody who did something that made you feel a kind of way, but beyond your feelings, wasn't really shit, really not worth this for the rest of your life, right? So because that is the case, and because there obviously are more people who think that than don't, in terms of it's not worth the looking over my shoulder the rest of my life just to correct your rotten ass, there are more people who feel emboldened to do rotten shit because they might only be hearing that 1 out of 10 motherfuckers doing rotten shit is really getting their eggs scrambled.
For real.
So I mean, it's a 90% chance that I'll get away with it too.
The sucker niggas is the popular niggas now.
Oh, no doubt.
It's the sucker niggas. They done got their hands on $2 and made sucker shit popular.
Rise of the sucker
To the
culture.
point where women just said, nigga, you should just be giving me money. Give me 2,000. Give me 3,000. Let's go on these trips. And I'm like, bro, y'all niggas is crazy. You don't got free money so easily. You fucked up the whole game. You make everybody think like they entitled to the free money when they should know that you got money.
So I just looked at the comment that 809 Slim made that you responded to. He said New York City scammers hosting money wars live online about who steals the most.
Nigga will have a cake, and the cake will be a Bank of America card. Like, these niggas be like, they so open with it. The niggas is, boy, they got Discords where you join the Discord if you want to learn how to scam the bank for this. Like,
No fucking way, bro.
It's so open where you like,
no way, bro. They're not doing Discords to train people how to scam, bro. What?
A nigga is on Twitter selling people. He doing people taxes from Twitter.
Let somebody on Twitter do their taxes.
He just showing you how he got it popping, and all the people that's following him, and you see him piped up, and then you join his Telegram, and then boom, boom, he started letting you know. He show you how to run it and everything. They go back and forth, and then the money come, and some dudes be good, some dudes run off on you, but niggas never even meet niggas, and they scamming niggas just because they know the play. And it's like, oh, where you at? You in Arizona? Oh, yeah, I know how y'all. From the internet.
See, this is what I'm saying. This is another way, even though this is kind of connected to the way I was initially saying that social media is destroying our fucking society, but that's like a off to the what the fuck? It's like, okay,
the nigga get you 30,000 back. Now you trap of the year. You don't win. You know he turned up. You know he threw 10,000 at the club, and then he went and bought some work. Look, got 30 through 10. You were like, bro, nigga, you threw it in the air.
Who's going to give a fuck about black people? as long as black people are in the condition they're in, have been, and doing that. Like, I mean, I know black people who be like, fuck them niggas. And mean it. Because they see shit like that. They be like, I'm supposed to feel some kind of way about who? About what? About what's, I'm supposed to feel some kind of way about a nigga who goes out, commits all kinds of crimes, doesn't care who he impacts negatively, and he gets pulled over in the car that he got from his criminal activity because he's been speeding, running red lights, and he's smoking weed. The car's not registered or insured, and he got a gun. And I'm supposed to feel some kind of way about
with temp tag.
the right with the police shooting him. I'm gonna tell you, to normal people, that it's like, what? Oh, because he's black, I'm supposed to feel some kind of way about that? What? Hey, fuck them niggas. And they dead serious. The darn 4P was happening. Ronald Waller, thanks for tapping in. We poppin', son. You know what I mean? But if, I'm telling you, I think everybody realizes that black people are on a serious downward trend, but I don't think that most people understand they will be negatively impacted by it. You know, if we were on a boat and everybody on the boat had their own little, little hand drills, you turn it like that and it twists down like a corkscrew. So you're on a boat with 500 motherfuckers, big ass boat, but 400 of them are off in their little own space, making holes in the boat, making a hole. They making a hole in the boat so they could fish. They could stick a little pole down in there and fish out. I'm just making a little hole for myself right here to fish out. You got plenty of boat. This one little hole ain't gonna sink the boat. But all the other 400 out of 5 are saying the same thing. So now you got 400 fucking holes in the motherfucking boat. But they're 400 individual holes. So as far as any of the individuals responsible for each hole are concerned, it's just a hole, man. Ain't no big deal. Don P said, man, imagine in 30 years. Bro. I mean, 28 years, they said that we'll be down to zero income. The average black home will have a zero income, no money coming in. The average household, median average household income, zero. That's 28 years from now, right? 2053. No, so that's 20, yeah, 28 years from now, right? 20 years from now. And so, unless something magical happens, like niggas stop being niggas, we don't have to imagine what it's gonna be in 30 years. We don't have to imagine it. We can. It's like if I said 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, you wouldn't have to imagine what it equals, right? You would have to imagine it. You would know because you know the factors affecting the outcome. You know that there's a 1 added to a 1 added to another 1 added to another 1. So you wouldn't have to imagine what was going to happen on the end of that equation. You know what's going to happen. How do you know? You got a crystal ball? No. You know because you understand the value of 1 with 1 added to it and another 1 added to it and another 1 added to it. Right? So it's at the point at which you're aware of the values of a thing it's not about math. It's about logic. You're adding up what you understand logically about the value of each of the components in this particular instance. Ones. So you know what the value of ones are. So imagine now that those ones are factors like education, the first one, right? Is Ty cut off? What the fuck is going on? Huh. Up top, J1. What's happening? I think he must be on a call. No, it dropped. I'll get right back to it. What happened?
Aiden called and then kicked me out.
Oh, okay. So I don't know if you saw what I was saying, but I was saying like in response to what
he said,
the Don 4P imagine in 30 years. So I was saying that you don't have to imagine. Scotty Boo, what's going on? CI11, CL11? No CI, no CI.
People already see everything going into AI mode. With you can order all your food on the app, and then you get to the store and your food is already there. That's already just preparing you for not dealing with nobody and going into a place and just grabbing your food and going about your business.
So again, that's another component. So always one, what's happening? It's been a minute. Where you been? I was saying about the, if someone said 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, you wouldn't have to imagine what the equal would be because you understand what the values of each component of the equation is. You understand that what the value of a 1 is, right? What's up, Bruiser, sir? So if you, peace, King, always one. If you know the value of education and you know the value of basic socialization meaning a person knows how and when to say please, no, thank you, excuse me, and you're welcome. Basic socialization. So you know the value of that. Zantino 1, what's happening? And you know the value of having specialty skill sets, being trained in electrician work or plumbing work or masonry, right? You understand the value of that, right? And say you understand the value of being able to read and comprehend what you read, not just say the words or pronounce the words, but understand what the words mean in relation to one another, right? So you understand the basic value of education, the basic value of socialization, the basic value of specialty training, and the basic value of being able to communicate and understand what's being communicated to you. Now imagine that those were the ones in that equation with 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. And we know, because we know the value of the ones. What up, Quan? Never lacking. It's been a minute too, man. What's going on, Quan? Where the hell you been? If you know the value of the ones, in this instance, we know the ones in this instance are not actual ones, but they're education, socialization, special training, and communication, right? So those are the ones. If you know the value of each one of those ones, just like when you imagine the 4 ones and what they would add up to, you know that would add up to 4 because you know the value of each one. You're not doing math. If somebody asks you 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, you're not doing math. You're not thinking about like processing of 1+1. You're not doing that because you already know the value of each component. You know what one's value is. If you don't know the value of education or socialization or specialized training or communication, then you don't know what the answer would be if you were adding those up, or if you removed any of those components from the equation. If you do not know the value of those things, as many of us do not, then you would not know what the lack of them would add up to. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the fact that there are so many of us that do not have either some reasonable degree of education, some reasonable degree of socialization, some reasonable degree or any of specialty training, or the ability to effectively communicate our thoughts and ideas, or to be able to understand effectively when someone is communicating their thoughts or ideas. There are too few of us that understand the values of those things. So the fact that they're lacking those things is not really impacting what they are imagining their futures can be, what the equal of adding those things together or subtracting any of those things from the equation. They have no concept of how Harlem Zone 135 was happening. They have no concept of how that will affect the equation. Yes, 1 + 1 + 1 = 4, no doubt. But what does education plus socialization plus specialty training plus effective communication, what does that add up to? Well, that adds up to a progressive, positive, useful, productive existence. That's what that adds up to. That adds up to being able to live a life and maintain an existence. Now, what does the minus of any of those things add up to? Well, the minus of any of those things adds up to a lesser degree of life quality. If you are not an effective communicator or a person who can effectively understand what is being communicated to you, then the quality of your life will absolutely be negatively impacted by that. If you are a person who lacks education to any reasonable degree, then the quality of your life and your options within it are going to be significantly limited, which means the quality of your life will be limited. If you do not understand the value of being socialized to a reasonable degree, where you know when you should say thank you or excuse me or you're welcome or please, your life will be negatively impacted by that. Because ain't nobody gonna want your irate, ignorant, belligerent ass around. No job, no school, no decent man or woman. Nobody's gonna want you around, right? And if you don't have a understanding of something, some type of thing, you can write, you can fix something, you can build something, you can straighten something out that's been broken, you can get electricity working, you can get the plumbing working. If you don't, the lesser degree BMF TV, what up though? The lesser you have, the less degree you have of that, of those skill sets, the less of an opportunity to create a quality life for yourself and those you love you will have. If you don't understand the value of the elements that make up an equation, then you cannot possibly figure out what the answer is when those components are brought together. That's why niggas can't see selling drugs or committing any other kind of crime and then without any reasonable source of legitimate income, you begin to spend the income from your criminal activity in a very public and prominent way. And in doing so, attract two types of attention: those who want to arrest you and those who want to rob you. And end up getting into a thing with those who are trying to rob you, where it leads to more interest in those who are trying to arrest you. And then, you potentially end up either dead from the robbery attempt or the repercussions of the robbery not going the way they wanted it to go, or you end up with a case. If you cannot add up the values of exercising restraint and self-control and not making drawing big attention to your illegal activities, not being a celebrity criminal, if you don't understand the values of being covert, being secretive, keeping your business to yourself. What up, Noodles? What up, Frank? If you don't see the value in those things, then, or you don't see the value in, or the nature or the potential in the other behaviors, the flashiness, the attention grabbing, the violence, then you won't add up the outcome. You won't say, damn, if I take my criminal money and I do high profile things, after a while, people are going to start wondering what the fuck it is I do. And if people start wondering what I do, they might start talking about what it is they think I do. And that talk could get to stick up niggas, or that talk could get to, police. And that getting to them, either those two groups, can cause me problems. If you can't assess the components of that equation, who is Chubbs? What's up? Baltimore History Channel. What's happening, y'all?
That's Chubbs. That's Tisha's son. That's my cousin.
No way. What's up? What's going on, family?
Yeah.
That's what's up. Right. So if you can't put together those values, if you can't look at those components, and the components of any equation are made up of the elements of everybody's life, right? So the things you have to consider are the things that are particular to your life. When I was in the street, I had to consider if taking this action was going to potentially cost me more than it gained me. Whatever action it was, whether it was sliding over some chick or taking over some block or some spot, or hunting somebody down that had violated in some sort of way and giving them what their hand called for. Whatever those elements were, I had to consider them and not consider them independent of the rest of the components that make up the equation. I couldn't say, I need to roll up on that nigga and smack fire out his ass without thinking, if I roll up on him, smack fire at him, okay, I get the satisfaction of smacking fire out of him. I get the opportunity to demonstrate for other people what the potential ramifications of getting on my bad side could be. So I don't have to go around bopping everybody in the head. I could just bop this motherfucker in the head one real good time, and that will reverberate for a while. I also have to consider that I could bop him in the head and set a war in motion. So I don't know who he's related to or how they feel about him. Even though he got what his hand called for, that won't matter to his people. Something happened to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to consider that. It's like I'm making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a day on this block. Do I want a war coming around here? Am I more concerned about the money that I have bust my ass to establish coming in to this space? Am I more concerned about the work I've put in to build this than I am about my ego? Is my ego more valuable than salvaging this earning opportunity? Those are components of the equation. You have to be able to consider each component as they relate to one another. You have to consider how one action with one component, whether you plus it or minus it or divide it, you have to consider how what you do with that one component will impact the entire equation. And ultimately, the answer. What does it all equal? I feel as though social media has made it less likely for people to operate that way, for people to consider what the value is of this action and how it might connect to, add on to, or take away from this action or this element, this condition. Could be a condition. Having a spot that's generating a lot of money, that's a condition. Making a decision that could impact that condition is an element. It's a component of the equation that you have to consider. You have to consider all the parts that make up the equation. You have to consider them all and how they relate to one another. And I think that social media, to the degree that that was a practice in people, has diminished that practice a great deal. And it's because of the constant sell of instant gratification, right? Fuck everything. I'm going to get this right now, though. I don't have it, but as soon as I do this, I'm going to have it. I'll go from a not having state to a having state. Now, whatever else happens as a result of me doing what I did to go from not having to having, I don't care because I got it now. So even though it'll come and go, and the ramifications that got it are still going to be hanging even long after it's gone, after the money's spent, I'm still potentially dealing with them coming and snatching my ass up because I let a nigga deposit a fake check in my account, my name, my real information. But he gave me that stack though. That nigga dropped that $50,000 check in my account and they gave me $1,000. I was able to save the day. 6 months later, I got a fucking problem. And that $1,000 is way gone, and so is he. I think that social media has exacerbated
He
that
on
in
the
people.
internet with stacks of money, nigga. What the? He on the internet like this, nigga. What, nigga? We lit over here.
Exactly.
Yo, you got your money. I've made. Yo, stop calling my phone. I know where you live. I got all your information. Stop playing with me.
And that's another one. That's another one. So that gets back to the scamming, the distrust, the inability for us to work together and, you know, make efforts to do things and build things together because of the prevalence of that. Social media has given people distance from their shit. so that they can take emboldened positions like that. What, nigga, you got your money. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop calling my phone, whatever this and that. But it's like, nigga, if we was face to face, you wouldn't be talking like that. You wouldn't be talking like that. You on the internet saying shit, you know, you on the phone, you're not even on the phone. You texting. You texting.
All caps.
Right. So social media has done this. It's emboldened all types of incorrect characters. 809 Slim said they even know the feds is watching. They answer.
Mm-hmm.
We know. You know, so that's another thing too, bro. What they don't know is what the experience of being incarcerated really is. You know, and I've talked about this. We just hit the 56-minute mark. I talk about this when I speak about my prison program. And I talk about how when I first start a class, I ask these series of questions. And I've shared this before, and it always bears repeating. I ask somebody, it's a room full of guys who are in prison, in the penitentiary, not going to court. They're in the penitentiary, they're serving their time. They're in the middle of 30-year sentences, 40-year sentences, life sentences, whatever have you. And my classroom, say on average, might be like 50 dudes. And I'll say, yo, raise your hand if you knew that what you were doing that got you here could get you here. And out of 50 guys, maybe, I don't know, say 60%, 70% will admit it, that they knew that what they were doing could potentially land them in the penitentiary, not get them busted, but in the penitentiary, right? Hold on, I see what you say, 809. Let me say this. And he said one of those brothers was a court officer turned scammer. Can't make this shit up.
Yeah, that's some New York shit.
So I would say how many?
The whole family work at the jail, work at the courthouse, and this nigga turned into a scammer.
Wow. 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 It's crazy. So when I asked them that, I would say like maybe 60% of them respond, raise their hand like, yeah, I knew that doing what I was doing could get me locked up, get me locked, get me put in prison. That's okay. So out of you guys who admit that you knew that what you were doing could get you put in prison, how many of you knew that you could be put in prison for the amount of time that you're in here for? And maybe out of the 30 dudes that admitted that they knew they could go to jail, maybe 10 or 12 of them say they knew that they could get the kind of time they got, you know what I mean, for doing it, if they got caught. But most of them didn't know. Most of them didn't know, oh, nigga, you could go to jail for 20 years. What you doing? They knew so many people who were doing similar shit. They just figured it can't be that serious. So out of the 10 or 12 that said, yo, yeah, I knew that I could get busted and go to jail for what I was doing. And I knew that if I got, if I blew it, if I went to trial and blew it or whatever, that I would end up with an asshole full of time. Okay. So that means that you accepted that potential. You looked at what you were getting and you looked at what you were potentially subject to get. Holiday one, what's happening? And you said, you know what I'm getting is worth what I could potentially get if I get caught. So what I'm getting weighs more than what I stand to lose. What I stand to gain is more valuable than what I stand to lose. That's the decision you made. Now, the only way you could really make a determination about whether what you stood to gain was greater than what you stood to lose is if you understood the values of those things. What is my freedom really worth? What is it really worth if you ain't doing shit? If you're just walking around, hanging around, standing around, fucking around, and since you left high school, that's all you've been doing, then really what is your freedom worth? In jail, out of jail, dead, alive, no real difference is being made, right?
That sounds good until you actually have experienced it. You like shit. I don't care if I'm outside taking shits on the street. I want to be able to take shits on the street outside. Like my freedom is worth everything. There's nothing that's worth just being like, yo, this take my freedom.
Right.
Besides my kids and my family, just for doing some green papers? Nah.
So now what you just expressed is that's the result of an assessment. And it's a result of an assessment in real time, real life experience. You've been locked up, and you've been free. You compare the motherfuckers. You go, oh no, free is definitely better. Under all circumstances, free is better than being locked up.
Yes.
Right. But when you haven't had that experience, when you've only ever been free,
and you see niggas on Instagram in jail, and they popping and they lit, they got chains and they making hibachi and chicken. Niggas got Popeyes and snacks and cookies and shit, and everybody standing there with their chest out and taking pictures and shit. You like, nigga,
I could do that.
I'm going.
I could do that.
I could do that.
I could do that.
E Boogie, he said he had another bid in him. They just wrapped his ass up. He went back to Burlington.
Really?
Yeah.
So what did he end up with?
They ain't say yet, but he caught in the sting, and he was doing roofing, making good money doing roofing. And as soon as he got him a nice 5,000-10,000, he jumped right back in it in Burlington and was like, yeah. Now he sitting inside jail.
For you.
And he said to us, he's like, yo, I got another bid in me. I was like, oh yeah, I'm staying away.
All the way the fuck away. All the way the fuck away. Like, this is a retarded person. I wrote about Burlington in my book and Raised by Wolves, y'all. So Burlington, in my book, I refer to Burlington as the sphincter of North Carolina. And if you don't know what sphincter is, look it up. Look up sphincter. And it's SPHINCTER, I believe. But that's the third question. So that's right, Holiday One. He said that's why you have to watch what you say. Your tongue is powerful. That's right.
Once he said that, he wasn't even doing nothing. We were just standing around kicking it, chilling at the house, and he said that. Oh, bet. This is our last time kicking it. That was our last time kicking it. Like, I've seen them through the internet, but hey, nigga told me your book was just here. I'm like, word? I love you, but I'm gonna love you over here, bro.
See, your response to that, your response to him saying something like that, your natural resistance to that, repulsion from that has to do with the matrix of logic that I built into your mind. That was the whole point. The whole point of everything was to build a matrix into your mind that would make you self-protecting. that would be the voice of logic for you when I wasn't around to be the logic for you. That's what it was about. You know, it wasn't about trying to subjugate y'all or control y'all or none of that. It was about preparing you for the inevitability that I know comes with being alive in this motherfucking country. You're going to run into people who have all kinds of self-destructive fuckery about them, and they love company. They will make destruction of self sound so good, so much fun, you just can't miss it. Gotta be down with this, bro. Come on, come catch this case with us, man. It's about to be fun. You know what we're gonna be doing for the next 15 years? Fighting for our life. It's gonna be so much fun. So that would be the last question. The last question is for all of you guys who knew that you could go to prison for doing what you were doing, and for all you guys who knew that you could go to prison for the amount of time that you're sitting here for now, you must have had in your mind an idea of what that would look like, since you decided that what you stood to gain was more than what you stood to lose, and you understand that losing would be at the very minimum going to jail, right? And you said, I'm gonna do it anyway. That meant you must have had a picture in your mind of what the losing part would look like. And in having that picture, you decided, oh, even the losing part pales in comparison to what I stand to gain. So you had a picture in your mind of what being in this situation would be like. And you decided, based upon that picture, what up, Norman Bates, 736? You decided that it would be worth it. Now that you are in here and have been in here, how many of you feel that the notion you had about what it would be like to be in this situation today, if you ever got caught, how close were you to the reality of it when you imagined what it would be like and decided that it would be worth the risk? You were getting enough to make it worth the risk. How close to the reality of it now that you're in it? How close to the reality of it were you? Were you anywhere near close? Somebody raise your hand if you were anywhere near close to reality when you imagined what it would be like. Not one hand goes up. Nobody imagined correctly, accurately what it would be like. And they couldn't. I don't care how many stories your uncle, your father, your brother told you about prison. They were telling you about their experience as them in that circumstance. They can't tell you what prison is going to be like for you. They can't tell you what it's going to be like for you when a motherfucker puts you in a fucking box and then slams the door. And you realize you, probably for the first time in your life, can't open a door between you and outside at your will. And your brain has never had to consider that before until that moment. And then you find out your brain can't handle that. Your brain can't handle the idea of not being able to open the door at will. You didn't know that. You'd never been subjected to that before. I mean, even when you was on punishment as a kid, you knew you could open the door. You might get smacked up for doing it, but you knew you could open it. You didn't feel, and your mind didn't have to make peace with being trapped. You don't know how that's going to affect you. And there are so many different things that you cannot consider. So it comes down to this. If you are doing anything that could potentially subject you to the harshness of incarceration, if you're doing anything that could eventually cause you to lose your liberty. You should at least have enough respect for yourself and value for yourself to do it in such a way as to lessen the likelihood of you ending up in a situation you don't want to be in. So you should not be trying to draw as much attention to yourself and your illicit activity as you possibly can. You should not be going to the club and throwing your money in the air. Your crime earned money that you risked your life and your freedom for. That's not what you should be doing with money. It doesn't matter. Oh, it was easy though. I just scammed this motherfucker out this money. It's easy. It was nothing. It was easy. It was a risk. And had you got caught, and if you get caught, you're going to prison. So that's not something you should be playing with. You shouldn't be willy-nilly with that. Every dollar you risk your life and your freedom for is the most expensive dollar that you will ever fucking spend. Trust me when I tell you, you should be spending it wisely. Act like your life went into it. Act like your risk of losing your freedom went into it. Act like it. Think about it. Look at that dollar and say, yo, I could have died getting this. And I'm supposed to do what? Whether it's at the mall, the jewelry store, the sneaker store, club, I'm supposed to take the money I risked my life for and say, hey, here's a little piece of the time and energy that went into making this dollar. You know, that's what this dollar represents. Fuck that life, that time, that energy. Fuck those risks. It's nothing. Just my life. It's just my life. Oh, I'm a nigga. What's my life worth? My life ain't worth nothing. That's what they tell me. That's what they've been telling me every way they could tell me. Your life ain't worth nothing. So why should I have a value for what I invest my life in? That's my time, my energy, the risks. Why should I have a value for my life that would prevent me from squandering whatever it is I've been able to gain from the risk of my life? Why should I have a value for this dollar when this dollar is a representation of my life and my life ain't worth